Friday. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another epic matchup today. We're going to be joining the CGL once again for the Throne versus Reincarnated, and boy, am I excited. But I will be one of your hosts, Sarge V. Hale, joined by Rin and Korvac. How you guys doing?
Good, thank you, Sarge. Looking forward to today's game between these two impressive teams from the Tier 5 of the multi-tier tournament, the Grandmaster tier, the absolute tippy top. I don't know how much you know about these teams, Sarge, but going into this, Throne, 4th seed, Reincarnate, 1st seed, not a lot of difference in between the two of them in terms of record, but whether or not they can actually live up to that when they start playing is another thing entirely.
Ready for battle.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, this is the GM level tier, so these are some of the best players. So I'm certainly expecting some high level gameplay and some intense team fights here. But already looking at these teams already, I'm pretty curious, especially what we're seeing from the defense so far here. With Team Throne here, we're going to be starting off with Best Friend on that Torbjorn, Vinny on that Roadhog. He's definitely famous for a powerful Roadhog indeed. Serge and Parker coming in on that Bastion, Mocha on that Orisa. I don't know how to say that. Hertzby?
Harvey, I think it is.
Harvey, gotcha. So Harvey on this Baptiste and Zalliance on that Mercy. Starting off with the attack here. Interesting comp, that's for sure. So it looks like we're going to be starting off with Midnight onto that Bear, and Delir already getting melted on that Orisa there. We're seeing some very interesting positioning. We're going to see McCree trying to go in for the backline. Not going to be able to get through that invincibility field, and especially with Bastion continuing to lay damage into their guys' spawns, they're having a little bit of trouble kind of peeking out. So they might end up having to go for some type of flank here, as just this positioning is just so concrete and such together that it really forces you to have to find a different way of entrance. And ZR Midnight is going to try to go for some type of angling, but they'll get taken down as well. So you could just tell by the inactivity from these guys. They're trying to think of, how do we go past this? Korvac, you got any ideas?
I mean, it's an interesting composition, and it speaks to some of the more sort of intriguing strategizing, for lack of a better word, that we've seen from Throne in the past. This Torbjorn turret's actually was until very recently covering the mid ground here. I think the set of all-out push we're seeing now that's just cost Sir James Parker his life was really the only way to break this.
Yeah, absolutely, and now with that Bastion pick, which is exactly what they need to really start getting some momentum. Midnight already having his ult, going to take down 2 with that, and had a couple kills there as well. Which is beautiful, fair gameplay, and the defense will have to regroup. And we're not seeing too much, all percentage-wise. We are going to see a Baptiste on the side for the defense here, so I'm curious of how you can kind of angle that. The Pharaohs definitely have to watch out for that. It doesn't look like they're running too much pharmacy here, but either way, these guys are repositioning, trying to find some type of angling, different comp to counter this pharmacy, and going to take down Midnight instantly. So now Mocha has a perfect opportunity to really start taking some lead here, and combined with that Baptiste ult, is just going to be too much damage for Delir to handle, and that will be the defense taking point back.
Yeah, Midnight's been playing this sort of, I don't want to say suicidal McCree, but it's almost been what it is. He's trying basically, I think, to get flashbangs and then fan the hammers and get opportunistic kills. You saw him sneak up very quietly on Mocha, as Mocha was coming out of the bottom left, bottom right, whichever direction you're looking at it, try and get the stun and try and get the pick. Midnight actually switching over the Wrigglemmaker. Again, really playing that McCree like a flanker. Looks like he is actually going to be switching off as well. They no longer want to run that McCree, so...
And Vinny going to get a beautiful hook onto the Lucio, stunning the offense once again. So they're actually not going to be swapping off from McCree. Kind of curious kind of what his plan was there. It looks like he tried to go for a high noon, but couldn't get the angling. So either way, they're going to be sticking with this double hit scan comp. But Flaffy is taken down by Best Friend. Beautiful shots coming in from him so far, and just this defense is holding so strong, especially with a massive amount of ult percentage that they have on their side. And now Zalon's going to pop the ult of his own. Here, Midnight will get taken down once again, and Best Friend as well. That damage boost is just so heavy.
I just don't know what exactly the plan is here, Sarge. These two DPS are playing for Reincarnated are playing this so suicidally. I mean, really strangely. Flaffy getting caught out in the back, that was just, a fluke of fate. I don't think they intended to end up back there. But, I mean, really, ZR has just been kind of, and he's going for it again on these flanking routes, trying to get some sort of opportunistic pick, and finally they get one in, but I think it might be a little too late here.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to try to use some ults here, but the defense just has so many more comparatively. So they're going to get the picks once again, finding all that damage. I'm going to get the res off as well. Now Flappy, the only person to contest, looks like they're going to try to stagger her just a little bit. Yeah, in the final 30 seconds, it's looking pretty tough for the offense here.
As ZR Midnight making this switch over to the Symmetra, I think just to try and teleport onto the point, maybe? I'm not exactly sure. Again, with these strange flanking routes, kind of trying to get up on the high ground, maybe prevent some of the Hanzo control up there. But now Midnight moving into position, got to get burned down by Best Friend. I might actually, that might stifle the push, sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to try to use that Lucio to get him, but it's a question of whether or not they have enough manpower. They're going to have to get some type of quick pick, but it's going to be the Mercy who falls down next. They're going to send in a D.Va bomb, but that Polygolf just keeping everyone off point. That's going to end this round.
That was a strange one, Sergeant, and I think perhaps we're just seeing Reincarnate getting into the rhythm of playing in this match. I don't think they expected such an aggressive defense coming out for the throne. Usually, when you see those bunker comps being set up here on Junkertown, right, you would see them back up on the high ground, not right by that doorway coming out. It's a creative strategy, but they almost just kind of boomed at the beginning. They were just hiding in spawn, trying to figure out what to do. They burned a bunch of time. And then even then, the attacks have just looked very disjointed. These DPS playing super far off from the center of their comp. And you have to wonder, what exactly the strategy is. Are they going to be able to tighten that up and maybe come in and play a bit more of a focused game? Because right now, the sort of suicidal runs on the flanks, that was not getting them where they needed to be.
Ready for battle.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. But, you know, I'm curious about the positioning that we're going to see in general from these comps immediately. So, the offense, they really don't have to get it far whatsoever, the throne. And so, it looks like they are going to be running a little bit of a point-heavy comp. But, actually, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
There's only one healer but 3 tanks. Actually, there's a DC.
Oh, no.
So yeah, I can
we'll pause immediately for that DC. Good thing pause button is bound. You know, it's interesting. We were saying that kind of you're interested to see what the positioning and stuff is like. I mean, we know that both these teams are Grandmasters teams. And Reincarnate is the #1 seed out of 16. I mean, they're not a bad team by any stretch of the means, and their players are very good. But we saw a very disjointed play style. And maybe putting Midnight on this Bastion, or ZR on this Bastion, let's not get the two of them confused, and Midnight on this Widowmaker might allow them to play just a little bit tighter. I can't remember, before Zelen's disconnected, were they on a support as well? Was that the Mercy in that composition?
That was actually a D.Va, so I would imagine Zelens would swap back to the Mercy as that is what she was on before, but I don't know, it certainly seems interesting.
I mean, it's not a usual bunker, or it's not a usual quote-unquote pirate ship, right, to see the Torbjorn come out as the one who's anchoring down the point. Not outside of, like, No Limits or something, where you have 3 turrets. Like, it's a proper pirate ship, right? Looks like Zelens has rejoined, so we'll just make sure that they're successfully loaded in, and then I think we'll break this pause so we can get back into it. Luckily, that happened before they started attacking Sarge, so I don't think probably won't negatively impact their push at all. Sometimes when those disconnects happen in the middle of games, you lose all your ultimate charge, and it's real grim. And Zealots actually comes out on the D.Va of all things. So Harvey on the Baptiste is going to be the lone healer here, at least to start off, unless that D.Va pick switches. That's interesting. That's a really interesting composition. It's putting a lot of pressure on that Baptiste.
And one thing I would like to point out at this point, so we're going to see this Bastion comp hold up top here. You know, it's traditional. We see it a lot. But one thing that you have to caution is with the 4 minutes, this huge amount of time, not having to get it too far. This could be kind of risky because you're giving them a lot of room, as we're seeing the payload already halfway there. But this Bastion is just going to continue laying damage into this guy's Hog, going to continue looking for a hook, going to find it onto the Bastion. Whether or not he's going to finish him is kind of up to the question at this point, but it's going to be Midnight finding the first pick of this battle so far, and the opposing, or the other Midnight, ZR Midnight will get taken down here. Mercy trying to go in for the res, but does get pulled away. Now Sir James Parker finding a beautiful pick onto the D.Va here. As this offense is just so well grouped up onto the point, they're going to continue pushing it, and this looks like it's going to be in the way of the throne.
Yeah, Sir James Parker missing no shots there, basically coming over the top, and so unfortunate for Flappy going into that res. Oh, the solo contest from Nintendo, he won't get there though. Oh, that's unfortunate, but yeah, just really well executed by the throne, and kind of a little bit scatterbrained on the side of Reincarnate, Sarge. They're going to have to try and clean this up a little bit if they want to actually be a serious threat in this game.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, they'll play the game we're going to be seeing coming in from that Baron. Just that Beautiful initial push, taking down one of the huge targets there, and then taking down the Bastion, just that barrage coming in. Absolutely beautiful.
I know his playstyle.
Yeah, I don't know. of the throne versus, I forgot the name. Holy cow.
Reincarnate.
Reincarnate, thank you. I
It's
couldn't remember how to say
appropriate for
resilience,
Nepal.
but yeah. Throne versus Reincarnate, and yeah, absolutely on Nepal here. One of my personal favorite maps, and I'm very curious to see, going from a map like Junkertown, who was very hefty on that bunker and double sniper comps, to see what they could pull out here as goats, snoats. Might end up seeing that pharmacy. There's so many more possibilities. I'm definitely curious. How about you, Corback? Any predictions?
Well, earlier today I was casting/watching the EU GM games for the EU Xbox division, and I did see sort of a 2-2-2 versus goats on this particular map, as Zen goats, and the goats just absolutely stomped it, because once goats gets inside underneath on this village point, it is so hard to shift off the top. So if you're not gonna shift to get it out, is just difficult. It has so much sustain. So if you're going to run the goats here, you have something very creative in your pocket. And seeing the setup coming out from the throne, I'm assuming Zelens might be switching back over to a Mercy right now. I don't think that Symmetra pick is going to last. Running only a Lucio. Yeah, there it is. That's a little bit ambitious. And then Zen goes with a Snoats, as we were saying, a May coming out the other side. I would give the initial advantage here to the Snoats, just in general. This isn't the most favorable Pharah map. It's not bad, but it's not great either. If they can get on that point and bunker up, I think the throne could have some problems.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm very curious to see what we're going to see from Wonderful and Vinny in this hog Hammond combo. It's not something you see very often. But I will say the Ghost team has completely control over the point, but they did just lose to Lear. That's definitely a rough day for Wonderful. Goes down himself so far back and forth. Zelen's able to get a beautiful red, but now Red team has control over the point here. And then Lucio down as well. So this comp is looking pretty darn good so far. Reincarnate definitely keeping that control for sure. Going to take down Best Friend next and get Wonderful once again. Going to force these guys to have to back up and regroup just a tad. Now both teams were able to get a fair amount of ult charge in that, so I'm definitely expecting to see some action just a second here. But I don't know. I'm worrying for this Ham and Hog combo.
So you saw the theory, at least, behind the Ham and Hog, I think, in action there, which was Wonderful sliding through the middle of the point, knocking some people out. If Vinny can get an opportunistic hook and pull one of the tanks in, I mean, he's just done it. He's pulled the D.Va out and it didn't quite work. But that's what they're looking for there. Wonderful has the responsibility of breaking this open. But there's grab coming in, there's sound barriers, so yikes.
Yeah, we're going to see a couple more ults, especially with that barrage coming out, but it's going to be Zelens who gets taken down first. So now 50% and Flappy going to use his Transcendence here. It's definitely causing some more trouble for the throne here. So definitely a very different game that we're seeing so far from Reincarnate. But the name again, but yeah, Vinny is able to get a pick on the leader, but it's not going to be enough to really change the tides of anything so far. And ZR Midnight just lasering that hog, going to get a good amount of all charge for himself as well. Now we are going to see a couple swaps here. Wonderful coming onto that Ryan there, and Sir James Parker onto that Hanzo. So curious to see how this is going to tie in and change the flow.
Again, it's not so different from what I've said, Sarge. They're really struggling to break this, and as the May all comes out and catches Harvey, that's a huge pick for them to initiate this fight with. Even trading back with the May, I don't know that they're going to be able to come out of this on top. That's one of their only two healers. Oh, decent hammer down as well.
Absolutely, and beautiful all combo with that D.Va bomb going in. It does look like Reincarnate is going to be able to full hold this one here. It is just around, and certainly not over yet.
Well, looks like Reincarnate has kind of found their second life after that first map. They've reincarnated, for lack of a better word, into a much stronger looking team, far more coordinated. Whatever they did riding the ship in that pause, they certainly worked it out. But yeah, once that Goats got set up on their Sarge, they just couldn't shift it out. And I do credit the Throne with running kind of an interesting comp in order to break that defense, but I think they waited just a little too long to get those swaps in, and they still stuck with the 2-2-2, and that's putting an awful lot of pressure on a Zenyatta, of all people, to keep the entire team healed up while you have that Pharmacy running up in the air. Going in with an Ana and a Lucio, again, not the most common sort of healer combo, but not necessarily bad either. And you're running into a straight Ana Goats, though, so again, okay, well, some interesting swaps going on here. It looks like they'll be coming out with the 2-2-2 again. I don't know if they're going to have enough sustain. That Ana kind of coming in instead of the Lucio might make a difference.
Yeah, it certainly will be interesting, but I think it's the fair that's going to be the heavy hitters here. Going against this comp, not going to really have too much of an answer. Yes, you do have the Diva, but you're also getting naded at the moment, so that will be Delir down. Now, before that Diva is able to take down Best Friend, of course, Rez will be coming out here, though. But it seems like, as far as just pure pressure-wise, actually, never mind. As I was just about to say, Best Friend is actually able to get another pick here. Wonderful does get taken down himself, so it's decently back and forth. But next we're going to be seeing a Hanzo also just splitting these guys up, and the Anok getting taken down. The enemy Anok getting taken down as well, so it's very, very back and forth. With a single person on the point, but the kill feed is going to light up just a little bit right here. So finally, Reincarnate is going to be able to get that a little bit of an advantage.
Best Friend was definitely doing their job too on that Pharah up in the air, chunking the damage in, but a lot of credit to Reincarnate for kind of stabilizing, holding their position there. Zalian has given them absolutely no space up in the sky, really been trying to pressure that Pharah out, and now Delir and Midnight are both looking up for shielding some of that Pharah damage, preventing it from getting too much in early.
Oh, but we are going to see a nanoed barrage come out, but the people just ate all of it. We're going to see a Lucio ult come out as well, just keeping their team up as both the Reinhardts just go head-to-head once again. This team bomb come out, but it was blocked as well here. Next, we're going to see a double grab, I believe. Both teams being stuck there, but it's going to be wonderful. Swinging his hammer, taking down two of the tanks there. Continuing to put on pressure, just trying to find those kills. Going to take down the Ana next now. Just Diva and Lucio to try to stall this one out. But of course, they're going to be able to finish off the last remaining two there and end off that percentage at 50%.
So there was a good use of tank ult spared by the throne. Wonderful got a really decent shatter. There wasn't as much follow-up on it, but when the two tanks for Reincarnate rotated forward, Vinny was able to throw in that grab. Just caught the Reinhardt and the Zarya, but they were separated from their healers so much that they weren't able to keep them up. And that was what really turned this whole fight. They were able to just take those tanks out early on. A wasted shatter in there too from Delir. He probably wants that one back.
Yeah, so now we're going to see a back shatter. That's going to be wonderful, getting the entire team on the ground here to take down everyone up. Of course, that was absolutely beautiful.
Well, I mean, I don't know how much analysis you could really provide on that. Wonderful came popping out around the corner there. They weren't expecting, I don't think, the Reinhardt to be so aggressive on that push up those stairs. Huge hammer down. And then the rest of the throne just dropped on him. It's like watching piranhas. Like, they just swarmed him, and everybody was getting involved in the kill feed.
Alright, we're going to see a couple more ults here from them with Barrage and Grab coming out, taking down everybody. Now taking that percentage advantage, and that was just beautiful ult combination.
Savage again. Best friend with spectacular positioning too to get that barrage off. Kind of was just holding towards the top of the stairs, protected by the tank, and there was really nothing they could do about it. Reincarnate just had to stand there and take it, and this forces them into a reset with the ultimate advantage not going in their favor either.
Yeah, absolutely. The ult management has been absolutely key for the throne so far, but now Best Friend getting taken down initially here. And Sergeant Clark connects. It looks like this is the exact fix that Reincarnate needs for this fight. Now a beautiful Discord on the wonderful will taking as well, but the clock is still ticking now into 90 percentile. These guys are just going to try to stall to get that 99%, not to finish it off, but still, that's just one team fight away from finishing this round.
Well, that initial pick there on Best Friend was kind of a worst case scenario. Best Friend throwing a little too close to the ground, got caught out by the Diva. That forced the res out of Zealots, which meant that when the Brigitte went down, an equally important player in a lot of these GOATS compositions, they had no res to bring them back in. But this is a good grab to initiate if they can get an advantage on it.
But there was that trance just to keep them up and a quickly respond. A grab and a Diva bomb to respond. That's just going to completely light them. Now the turntables have turned, as Michael Scott might have said, but already now 80%. Yeah, Reincarnate looking pretty good now. Let's see what the throne can kind of try to push in here, because there's still, the ult percentage-wise, it's still kind of like even back and forth for these guys. By the way,
yeah, well, the throne,
start making
both teams here have hit the mystical 85% number, so really this will be the last fight. Whoever comes out on top wins 100%. Oh, it's a big shatter though to start it off.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to see the healers doing their job so beautifully well, and it's going to be a shatter coming out next, but Best Friend was taken down, so now down a man. They're going to have to get the reds off, and they're just able to. Delir is just swinging it into these guys, trying to do as much damage as he can, but the healers are just so good right now. We're going to see a grab come out as well, but it's at the corner, not able to completely force them off. but the damage is still raining in. It's going to be Midnight taking down next. We're going to see a Trans trying to keep the fight alive, but it's going to be Brad coming out next. Now without that Trans in and out of the way, it's going to be a cleanup from here with Vinny just doing so much damage into these guys. The Lear is going to try to get in here, but still in overtime here, and hit Shatter as well. And I don't think anyone's going to be able to touch.
No, I doubt it very much. An attempt is being made, I think, by Tuxedo, but they won't get there in time. A lot of credit should actually go to Zelens in there. They Wonderful had dropped just a tiny sliver of health, and Zelens kind of picked them out, and I think the Ana might have helped as well, Harvey. And they just kept him alive, which enabled Vinny to get that grab off, and then in turn allowed Wonderful to charge in and pin Midnight out of it. And that was like the pick that signaled the sort of the end of days there for Reincarnate. There wasn't a lot they could do once the Zarya, that huge source of damage, was out. There were no more bubbles. There was not a lot of protection. They were all caught up in the grab, and it was just lights out from that point. Sorry, just clean it up at that point in time, dealing a ton of damage. To clear that point. But coming into this, nothing to surprise us here. Both teams running the Hog Orisa, which has been kind of the standard play on Sanctum for as long as any Omnic Monk can remember, honestly.
Absolutely, and one thing I will point out that I find very interesting is both teams are running a 3-2-1 variant, but both teams' comps couldn't be any more different, even though they're so similar in many ways already. It's going to be Flappy taking down first here. And just the beautiful pulls. Look at that. Also, amazing combo taking down the Lucio there. Already, both teams still just kind of poking and prodding at one another. Nobody was really able to find the next pick here. Vinny will get pulled, trying to get a pull himself on the opposing Hog, but not going to be able to find it here. But it's Delir next, so now with that main tank in and out of the way. And the Hogs just pulling each other back and forth. Oh man, you'll love to see it, but alrighty. We're going to see this Baptiste all just rain in damage onto these guys. And Lucio still continues to try to stall, but there it is. The throne with
finally
that initial advantage. Yeah.
Finally, a Hog went into the middle of the void. Boy, they were really trying at one another. What I think was most interesting about this engagement, though, was neither of these Orisa comps chose the more standard positioning that we now see Reincarnated. They both went in whole Hog, and Bomb's been thrown in, but that's kind of a bad positioning on it. They might want that one back.
Yeah, maybe.
It's done there as well.
But it's going to be this Hog ult. This just rains in damage combined with that beautiful nano as well. But Best Friend still able to get a couple picks himself, kind of keeping the dream alive, especially with this amazing Mercy spell right now, just floating above their heads while Vinny tries to get it ult himself.
As well, and I think Zealot's kind of the unsung heroine right now for Throne, keeping them up and really doing a great job making the most out of that stall. And the Throne are going to hold on to this. It's bought Wonderful enough time to come back and reset up the bunker here, Sarge. So they're going to have to go through all the motions to break it again, and this time they will not have any ultimates to make that happen. They did that on the back with the Nano Boost, the Hog, and the Bob. And basically the board has been wiped clear with 60% left on the clock.
Yeah, absolutely. And trying to get in here, Best Friend finding another beautiful pick onto his opposing character there. And there it is, the hook. Vinny finally able to find that, and we were getting taken down as well. Now 70%. Throne is certainly looking pretty good here, but like you were saying about the alts, Reincarnate is starting to get them a little bit. So this could be exactly what they need to really make the difference here, because they got to do something now in the 80%.
Yeah, I mean, the ultimate advantage, it's sort of swinging in favor of Reincarnate. I mean, there are a number of ultimates about to come online for the Throne. Bob may be more impactful over the damage gate, but it's really going to be down to how they're used at this point in time. So they're initiating with the Diva Bomb right away. Gets no one, though, Sarge. That's going to be a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be the bad result. I think just raining in that damage, so focused onto that Orisa shield that's really going to allow the Bob and the Hog to force these guys out. Yeah. Oh, a beautiful Lucio boot, but the question is, once again, is it enough? And unfortunately, it will not be. Lucio cannot get any more kills than that, so that will be Bro taking the next map.
To be fair, though, Sarge, I think that was a very good map for Reincarnate. They sort of righted the ship a little bit. They came back. They looked a lot more threatening than they had on Junkertown. I mean, this is the kind of performance they needed. It's a shame they can't walk away with a win on this one, but going into map 3, they will be fighting for their lives, theoretically, in the playoffs. But I think this is probably one of the more this is a promising development. I mean, this is, if you can't get a win, at least it looked good. It was not a complete sort of stomp like we saw on map number 1.
But alrighty, we're gonna go ahead and go into a quick intermission to see. Never mind, what am I saying? Intermission time. Alrighty, welcome back once again to the third map, False Sky. And man, this is no doubt one of the most beautiful maps in the game. But continuing on, we're going to be having the throne here in the red on the attacking side, and Reincarnate on the blue for the defense initially. So, after seeing the first map, these bunker v bunker, then the second map, this scouts mashup with some May mixed in. What are your thoughts on this map, Corvette?
Well, beautiful one word for it. I don't like Volsky. I feel like there are a lot of people who don't like Volsky, and I feel like we're relatively justified in our feelings. about this map. Up until Paris, I would have called this one of the most frustrating 2CP. But with the addition of Paris, I think that's roundly taken that title. Going in here, I would expect bunkers from both these sides, but whether or not sort of they want to try something new, and it looks like actually with their picks, they are going to be trying things differently than what we would expect. Again, with that Hammond Roadhog combo coming out from one side, which I think might be their go-to anti-bunker strat on the side of the throne. And meanwhile, kind of a standard 2-2-2 Sarge, the kind of thing you would expect to see in latter games, you know, maybe latter games post sort of goats being the only thing that people run. Get the Hanzo and the Sombra in there, both really solid picks on this map. If the Hanzo can get relatively good positioning and chunk in a bunch of damage, it really only takes one good hack from Midnight to open up for some huge picks, but they're already coming in fast and furious. Throne wasting no time.
Yeah, absolutely. And with this comp, once again, with the mini on Hog, one full on this Hammond, you know, without that main take, that's really just the key to win. Just get in quick and then get out so you don't take too much damage. And that's exactly what one full is just going to keep trying to do, as it's definitely working against Flaffy. And now Midnight getting taken down now. So just 4 left now. 3 as Benny gets another focus there. And the Mercy is just on point with giving the damage boost to anybody that needs it. Starts trying to do any damage. And while everyone just hunts down the last remaining sellers, it's the rest of the team to make sure that they cap the point in the first fight here.
Yeah, that's a pretty disastrous defense there coming out of Reincarnate. Just a little disparate, knocked around. They're making full switches over now, going to a sort of Orisa goats-ish competition. Not the most common thing I've ever seen, but not exactly a bad comp either. Though Sir James Parker getting the early picks, and that might just signal the end of this, to be honest.
Yeah, it definitely could be, especially with this Hammond all going in immediately. So with barely anybody to touch, it's just this beautifully executed, strange comp, but it works so well, especially on this map. Just going in quick and getting the kills that they need. So there it is, end of the first round. Let's see what Reincarnate has to respond.
That's just absolute domination there, Sarge. I mean, you kind of get the sense maybe that Reincarnate a little mentally boomed right now. They're not quite where they want to be. 6 minutes 36 seconds on the clock is a lot of time. And I hope Reincarnate can pull it together, because they're a good team. They really are. They're very strong. They've had a strong season, and this is not the way I think we want to see them go out. I like the ideas of what they were coming in on in terms of their comps. It's just that the execution just has not been there. I mean, you can't, I guess, necessarily account for Sir James Parker just deciding to reenact sort of the Valentine's Day massacre there on the back line. But I don't know. My heart goes out for them. I hope that they can pull it together and maybe somehow turn this around. But at 6 minutes 36 seconds, it looks like we might be seeing Throne punching their tickets to the finals.
Yeah, you know, definitely on track to win this thing for sure. But, you know, it certainly isn't over yet. So here's hoping to a good offense. But alrighty, looking at these comps now, we're going to see Throne running a very similar thing. In fact, I think it's the exact same thing, just with a Torb there in replace. But this offense, I'm curious about this one, because this is, you know, I see this and I kind of think goats with the healers, but then there's Mercy and there's a Hog and then there's a Whip, and you know, I'm curious to see what they're going to do with this.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's a really interesting comp. If Midnight can get some early picks on their DPS, they can break this. I mean, obviously Throne relying heavily on their 3 DPS to make this work, and then Wonderful, the next most important person in line. But we'll see. Midnight getting an early pick, that's basically your win condition.
Yeah, absolutely, but these guys are going to continue going head-to-head here, but even the Mercy getting taken down next, that's certainly a rough pick. They are able to get the Sombra, and now Best Friend as well. The question is, will it be enough without the Mercy and the heavy heals, but it looks like it absolutely will, considering that you still have those 2 healers and the Hog healing. So, yeah, just see another beautiful attack here, going in, finding the targets instantly, and winning it in the first fight. Oh, and that's just really a beautiful boop on a Vinny.
When I was saying that Midnight needed to get an early pick, I was referring to Midnight on the Widowmaker, but CR Midnight would work well. Sussed out that Sombra, picked Harvey just right out of the back line, killed him almost immediately, and then it just started coming in. Midnight over the top contributed as well, and that really put him on the back foot. So 7 minutes coming into this final attack point. Both these teams looking absolutely savage on the attack here, Sarge.
Certainly so, as these teams are continuing just to take the time to push in, if you're trying to find that angle, trying to find maybe the Sarmer peeking the back line once again, but both teams are, like I said, just continuing to eye one another, but it's going to be oh man, sorry, I had something in mind. But yeah, it's going to be Reincarnate here going for a large flank on the side, but are going to split up enough and are just going to get ripped apart from that hog there.
Yeah, it was a good immortality field there, actually, by Harvey. This is a very intelligent swap over the Baptiste at this point in time. A lot of high ground for them to play off of. But that immortality field basically turned the fight. We didn't see Reincarnate throw in the kind of focus they needed to in that stage. And what that did was it opened up wonderful on the Orisa, though they did eventually die. It just kind of allowed them to turn their blaster around it and just chunk in a ton of damage before they went down. It's an interesting bunker composition. The Torbjorn turret placement isn't the most creative we've ever seen, but it seems to be working, and the way in which they're playing around the shield is really... Oh no! Delir just destroyed right there, Sarge. They couldn't even do anything about it. I think they might fully back up here and reset.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt they're going to have to. Not being able to get that res off and losing that main shield thing just completely strips away, your protection and damage reduction here. The Hog is still going to try to do something here, maybe going for a little bit of a risky pick, but then he's going to be using his pulse here completely, forcing him and melting him back there.
They're playing this very aggressively, Sarge, right now. With 5 minutes, 17 seconds on the clock, they're not holding back. They came right out in terms of their defense. Made, again, good use of the immortality field to kind of hold on, and now they're going to run back, and that, I think, is the wise thing to do. Wonderful and Vinny don't want to be caught out there, especially not with any heals to back them up.
Absolutely, but now we're going to see some high damage also coming out of that Baptiste and that Super Trooper, and now that the ooze from the Torp here just laying out and completely melting these guys up as they continue to push in, trying to get these kills. Now they did use every ult in their arsenal, so it maybe was a bit too much, but the offense used a good amount of ults as their own, so still kind of even and back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the ultimate economy, Sarge, I don't think there's much difference in between the two of them. If anything, maybe slightly closer, barring Midnight's ult, maybe slightly closer on the side of the throne, but ooh, it's a good early pick there. Forces the res out of Mercy to get that Widowmaker back in on the action as they switch over to a full double sniper comp here coming into this last full Skya point.
Yeah, and I will say I certainly do caution this just because with the angling on this map, it's definitely going to be hard to find, like, especially with these excellent Orisa shields coming in from Wonderful, preventing all those angles from the drop. But either way, both teams are continuing just kind of poking and prodding on one another, but it's going to be huge damage coming in from Vinny, going straight for that Mercy, and Delir taking them down instantly and killing their fight before they're even able to make it to the point.
He got 3 out of the whole lot. That's not something you see very often, Sarge. That's not an ultimate that's known for its killing potential. But Vinny using it very well there. I think caught Delir and Delir and Zalian kind of in the corner there. Blizzard worked him up the wall, then turned around and caught Flaffy when they were already pretty low. And it's a bit of desperation strings now. They really haven't figured out how they can pick this pocket. ZR Midnight got a good early hook, but they weren't able to capitalize on it, and I think they might look for that again, just trying pulling one of them back behind Delir's barrier.
Absolutely, but we're going to see a flurry of ults come out once again from the defense here. We saw that Baptiste, we saw that it was just, once again, too much, and without a diva or anything, it's going to be really hard to soak up all of that damage. So once again, we're just going to see the defense able to push up because they have all these ults and all this potential to do so. Even getting pulled, but I don't think Wonderful really cares. He's just going to set up a shield and going to go straight for that hog.
That was a really well-placed ult by Sir James Parker, actually. Put that right down in the middle of everything and kind of cut the team in half. They waited half a second until Midnight had started to initiate with some of the other members of the team. They threw in their ultimate and they basically split them. And once the split happened, Sarge, there was really nothing that they could do about it. There's no way for them to get a healer over outside of Dixento, but I think he might have been trapped in there with them already. Best Friend getting an early pick here on Midnight, and that's exactly what you don't want to see. That res forced out again early on in these pushes.
Yeah, absolutely, but we're going to see a Hanzo ult beautifully placed, but the pull from their own team is actually going to be what saves them here. Really reduces that damage, and as they try to push in here, try to find any type of pick, they're just going to get ripped apart once again as Vinny and that Baptiste ult is just such a high amount of damage, forcing these guys back once again. Now just under a minute 45 seconds here. They certainly lost a lot of time, and they gotta make sure that they get it at least over a minute.
Yeah, Harvey's been playing really well on this map, to be honest, generating those ults very quickly. I think the only thing is Sir James Parker getting a hammer kill there on ZR Midnight. A little rough. The only thing I think they've really missed out on so far has been kind of the placement of the immortality fields, but they're not being punished in terms of that. And there's actually a really good one there to get them safely back into spawn. And again, Reincarnate struggling here. Midnight down again early on. They keep using Midnight on these initial picks, and it's forcing them back almost every single time. Molten Core coming in again to try and split them up, Sarge, and that's the Leer out of it. Harvey just cleaning up these kills. Another damage gate. Why not?
Yeah, you know, they swapped the defense and they still have that hog, but it's really just they're having a lot of trouble able to punish these guys from overextending or anything. It really just comes in to bite them in the butt here.
It does, and I mean 41 seconds left on the clock, pushed up hyper-aggressive defense. They're going to have to turn this one around somehow, and I just don't know if they can. Sir James Parker goes down, that's a decent pick. Maybe they can.
Yeah, and they're going to try to use some ults here too, but it's the question of, are they able to even get past this Orisa here? And with the barrage coming in next, it's certainly going to be a good ticket to do so. 20 seconds, Lucio is able to make it on the point along with Midnight trying to make their way in as well. But it's still the Hog, the Torbjorn, and the Baptiste still hanging out, still ripping these guys apart with those high damage ultimates. Keeping these guys back in just in the final 5 seconds here. It's really not looking good to contest now. And now in overtime, I believe this will...
Well, Dixenzo did drop out, but they're not going to touch it, I guess, anyway. Unfortunately, we are in the last seconds. He was the only one, I think, who could get there, and he's not going to make it, so we'll just let it tick down. That's unfortunate. You know, Throne played a good game. They clearly came out here to play, but that was an unfortunate final performance for Reincarnate on the back of a really, really strong season, I have to say, Sarge. That's sad to see. Hopefully next year they come back, next season they come back a little bit stronger, maybe a little bit more as good as they were. I mean, they're the top team, they're the #1 seed. It's just a real shame to see him go down like that. But all credit to the Throne, playing a really effective, coordinated game, good usage of ultimates, and just good all across the board to make it stick there at the end. You know, everybody playing their roles absolutely perfectly for the Throne tonight.